All right. Assalamualaikum guys. क्या हाल है boys? क्या हाल है राफे? क्या हाल है Junaid? What's up?
हेलो गाइस, क्या हाल है?
All good, all good.
ठीक यार, another week, another load of work to do, but I have to take time. I have
Yeah,
to take
man.
time for the podcast.
Yep. Gotta stay consistent. Na? So, here, guys, we are here for episode 2, which is the Shanghai Grand Prix, Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Initial thoughts, guys. Initial thoughts.
It was, I will say, fun. It was fun to watch. Good and bad moments here and there, but I think for the most part, I enjoyed watching. But we'll get to the sad bits as well. But I think overall, it was really fun to watch. It was also a lot of cards were showing at which cars are a lot more competitive than others. I think we got a bit more taste of Mercedes dominance and just how much faster they actually are. And I was waiting to see how Ferrari would mess up their race. They didn't have to.
Yeah. Junaid, your initial hot takes on the race.
I would say there was a massive crowd, huge expectations going around, and the race delivered it instantly. It was fun. It was fun watching it, and lot of crazy overtakes. The battles between the Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton was fun to watch. Yeah, it was total fun.
Yeah. So it was definitely fun, guys. It's the kind of race that you're looking forward to when you have race weekend. You have a bad weekend, you had a bad week, you had a fight with your boss, and you're not getting paid.
Did you have a fight with your boss? I think I know what you're talking about. I used to work there too, so
yeah, let's not go there. No, I didn't have
Bad memories.
I did not have a fight with the boss, but yeah, it's you guys have probably seen that meme, race weekend, and it's like a duct tape and you put it on.
Yeah. Everything just washes away with it.
Yeah, this race definitely did the trick. So guys, we'll keep it simple this week, and we'll start off with qualifying, and then we go into sprint because it was a sprint weekend, and then we'll conclude the race. Quali, guys, initial thoughts. कैसी ने quali कैसी लगी? Rafi, how about you start up?
All right, I can talk about qualifying. I think the biggest shocker here was Red Bull's pace was actually quite bad.
Yeah.
And I think we finally understand, it's with every race weekend, whatever Laurent said, that, you know what our pace is, we're not going to be fighting for wins. I think that settles in more and more, because you could see that it's nice to see Hadjar and Verstappen neck and neck in terms of pace, but it speaks volumes saying that, one of the best qualifiers on the grid is P8. And I think that's kind of sad to see. It was good to see the rest of the consistency. McLaren's they were fast in quali, but obviously the stars were Ferrari and Mercedes, and Kimi Antonelli with the pole. It's getting exciting for Kimi.
Yeah.
What about you? What about you guys? Junaid,
Your take on
I would start with the bottom 6. I would actually suggest FIA to get rid of Q1 because we all know that both the Astons, Williams, and
Cadillacs.
Cadillac are always going to go out in Q1.
That's a hot take.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Say, though,
I'm just kidding. I think it's just a matter of time that one of the Williams are going to come, probably knocking on the door of Q2. Probably it's going to be Carlos Sainz. I think he had a really good weekend, and he was he was, driving the car at his best. And yeah, Gabi Bortoleto incident was shocking. He chucked into that corner with too much pace, and then he hit into the barriers. Lucky for him that his car was not fully destroyed, that he drove the car back to the pits. But obviously, that incident cost a lot to the other drivers. I think it was Ocon and Colapinto, I guess, who suffered from that accident because it was a yellow flag and they had to slow down their cars. Other than that, I think quali was fun. It was better than the Australian quali.
Yeah, Rafi, I think you were saying something.
Yeah, I will say, when you it's fun for us to take pokes at like the bottom six because it's a lot of familiar faces, the same names down there. But it's really like when you watch these races, it's a battle of attrition these days because the Aston's done more race laps than both McLarens, which
Wow.
is astounding to think about, right?
Yeah, that's a fact for you guys to think about.
So I think that really goes to show everybody's struggling out there. Everybody's struggling.
Yeah.
Except for Ferrari and Mercedes. And
Yeah.
because, you usually have a team, maybe two, sometimes even three, that kind of figure things out better at the start of the regulations. But I think it's a lot of McLaren had some software issues with the engine. They didn't have the latest version from Mercedes. And I think that goes to show why are issues like these creeping up on teams? And it should be, it's too complicated. If we go back to what's that joke? A short view back on the past. The whole long joke the interviewer asked, but too many buttons on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
I think that's still relevant today. It's all about who has better deployment, who has better charge, and FIA should start lifting restrictions on how much charge they're able to gain per lap, how much they're able to hold, because I think it's adding already. Like these cars are kind of limping in terms of power. Well, most of them.
Guys, I think we're gonna have to rename the podcast to dissing on the 2026 regulations. Man.
People say the hate is forced. I think I do like the racing. I do think it's entertaining to watch. It's never been this neck and neck and back and forth. But at the same time, it's if the drivers themselves have strong opinions, I feel like their opinion has some weight to it. Like if they start calling it mushroom, I need the mushroom instead of I need overtake.
Yeah, I'm sure all of you have seen the Mario Kart references.
And I think FIA keep censoring people making the Mario Kart jokes, and I think that's FIA always has a bad rep in my opinion, but they just get worse every season for somehow.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just wrap up qualifying, but just my last hot take is being a Max Verstappen fan, it really hurts to see Vettel struggling with this right now. But I think it's going to be a development race, and I think over time, I'm hopeful they're going to get better. And with Max behind the wheel and Hadjar, I think it's a strong lineup. So I think we'll be seeing a bit of strong racing and Red Bull in the mix. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because I think eventually the whole Merc Ferrari battle is good, but it's good to have another team in the mix as well. What do you guys say?
Well, we're gonna have as soon as McLaren's able to start their car, they're going to be up there. But I don't know. It's hard to talk about. It feels like watching Verstappen every weekend. You just your heart just breaks. I think we'll talk more on that when we get to the race.
Yeah.
I think let's move it on to the sprint now.
All right.
Yeah.
Did you actually watch this?
I think I'll be honest, it was so late in the night for me. I was half awake, but I did manage to catch most of it. And it was people were struggling, it was crazy to see that the Lindblad thing, like it wasn't as many DNFs as I was expecting. Right, I was expecting more cars not to finish, and it set me up for good expectations for the race weekend. And overall, I thought we would get some really good mixing of like Max maybe against the McLarens, but you could see that the car was really struggling for pace, and Max was ringing it fully. And I was a little bit more hopeful that maybe Ferrari could get the weekend, given that like Kimi couldn't fire it up as well. But expectations wise, yeah, I don't have much to say about the sprint. I personally don't really like the sprints that much. Like I'm with Verstappen on this. Their sprints they're not interesting because there's no strategy. You pick a tire, you stick with it.
Yeah, basically.
You don't have stints. You can't like pit stops are like part of the biggest strategy. I think
the whole
in
point
the
of
sport.
F1 races just kind of goes out the window. But yeah, all for the name of a bit more racing. But
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I think
but teams already barely have time in the week to set their cars up, get practice in. Sprint is just another like it's just a long pace simulation.
Basically, yeah.
Really.
You get points for it. So yeah.
Yeah.
The main talking point for the Shanghai sprint was the two Ferraris fighting. It was great to see some great overtakes by Charles and Lewis. I think you have to give credit to both the drivers as well as their strategists that they allowed these drivers to take on each other. It was such a great battle to watch. काफी मजा आया उन battles में when one driver was taking that inside line and suddenly his battery got depleted and the others got a chance to overtake that. काफी इस रेस में इस तरह लगता है कि it's more like a chess game rather than a boxing match. अगर
that's a good analogy.
मतलब जैसे एक ड्राइवर पास करता है तो उसमें यह है कि he becomes more vulnerable जब वो पास कर जाता है. क्योंकि उसकी बैटरी डिप्लीट हो जाती है और जो पिछला ड्राइवर है उसके पास ज्यादा चांसेस हैं कि वो उसको पास कर दे. It was fun to watch those battles.
Agreed. Jade, Rafi, carry on.
Yeah, you have a good point there. It is a bit more chess-like in the sense that you have to think and plan because you will get opportunities for overtakes, but making it stick can be kind of hard. And you can keep coming back. These tires are clearly able to take a beating. The dirty air isn't that harmful because the cars aren't making much downforce anyway. But I think the bigger problem that used to be in the previous regulation was, they really had to get force down the apex, try to push the other driver off just to get overtakes. I'm remembering last year, Zandvoort, when Leclerc just sent it inside, I think it was George, and that was really I saw that was a great overtake, but people had opinions and the drivers had opinions on that. And that's that was a regulation where you had to kind of do that kind of overtake to make it stick. Otherwise, you would just cook your tires following behind. But then let's move on to a little bit about the race now.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna conclude of my a bit of hot take on the sprint was basically I was kind of hoping that Lewis would be in the mix because he already won the last sprint here in China. Plus that track kind of suits him. But unfortunately, like Junaid said and Rafi said, we're kind of used to the previous era of Formula One where a driver overtakes someone, and you're kind of hoping that move's going to stick. But in these regulations, that's not the case anymore. So you're kind of hoping, he's gonna be able to build some gap. But Ferraris aren't even able to build some gap even if they get clean air. It's just the Mercedes is an absolute rocket ship, especially on straight. So Yeah, it is competitive at the same time. Yeah, it is what it is. So let's see where things go from here. All right, guys, race weekend, race weekend. Rafi, start
Yeah,
off.
I think another, what Junaid was talking about earlier, like seeing the Ferraris just like, bash each other in almost, like,
Yeah,
and in the interview, Lewis, just a kiss, just a little bit. Um, I think that was a great example for McLaren, that this is how you go racing between your drivers, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't step in and say, like, it's good for the team, people,
Papaya
the memes
rules.
are all there,
yeah,
you have to do it for the team, but
yeah,
it was, yeah, Ferrari, that small turbo, it gets off the line fast. But yeah, you can see once the Mercedes gets its tires fired up, it's unstoppable.
Hmm.
And the pace, the gap kept getting bigger and bigger. And even after Leclerc's best efforts against George, and also Hamilton's best efforts, like they couldn't hold him back for much longer. And I honestly think even if they weren't fighting each other and losing all that time with the fighting, even if they worked as a team, George would have flown past them and just done his own race. I think Kimi was very impressive. That's a promise. We're seeing a lot of promising talent, and Toto hopped on the radio. He said, they said he should stay in the younger classes. They said he was too young. Now they all know. And Toto is great at finding talent. He has
yeah,
a phenomenal lineup, and I think George and Kimi will give us a phenomenal season. But it's clearly a lot better established who's driver one and driver two between
yeah,
those.
yeah,
And Mercedes management, I have no doubts about. They will be able to handle themselves in the lead. Unlike McLaren, kind of they didn't know what it was like to be on the top, and they couldn't handle it all
yeah.
that well. And it
Hmm.
was really everybody was making the papaya rules meme. But the one thing that I really want to talk about in this race, I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about. Like how the Haas and the Alpines, with the customer teams have figured out how to get that engine going, because I believe their pace is only down to their engines. But the one thing that I really want to talk about is Max Verstappen, man. That was depressing to see. Like I
Yeah,
saw him get off the line, the turbo didn't spool, and he fell down to like second last. It was like only ahead of Alonso. And
Hmm.
then I was like, oh man, that hurts to see. And then I saw him climbing back up, clawing through the ranks. He tried so hard and then just retire the car, man. Like
uh,
that man, it's a bad car, like a genuinely bad car if
yeah,
Max is struggling
Hmm.
that much.
yeah.
I think it's a bit overweight. I heard, and I
Hmm.
I was reading an article that said कि उसका weight almost 22-23
So
kg ज़्यादा है.
that's
उससे उसकी race trim पे काफी फर्क पड़ रहा है.
that's a lot in Formula One,
That's a
man.
lot. But honestly, I will say, like, even if it's just overweight, like that's one of the problems, but I don't think it's the biggest of their problems. They have reliability issues. That engine,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
their turbo does not spool properly. I don't know what's going on with their battery. Max has
Hmm.
been complaining about his battery every single race, but he always has. The Red
yeah.
Bull always was bad with its battery, and it wasn't as much of an issue in older regulations because
Hmm.
the battery wasn't as big of a factor.
Yeah. हाँ और इस इन regulations में they are more exposed with
Yeah,
these regulations. Yeah. I
definitely.
think I have a question for you guys कि टर्बो का जो ट्रेड ऑफ अभी आ रहा है कि स्मॉलर टर्बो एंड बिगर टर्बो Ferrari opted with a smaller turbo and Mercedes opted with a larger one. Obviously smaller turbo के साथ you can spool it faster, you can get an instant throttle response, रोटेशनल इनर्शिया को जल्दी ओवरकम कर पाएंगे, रेस स्टार्ट अच्छा मिलेगा, यू कैन गेट बेटर ट्रैक्शन इन स्लो कॉर्नर्स. With bigger turbo, it takes a lot of time to spool. Again, जब once it gets spooled, उसके बाद you can get more horsepower at higher RPMs. So क्वेश्चन आपसे ये कि व्हाट डू यू थिंक कि डिड फेरारी मेड द राइट चॉइस with the smaller turbo?
Saad, you wanna take that
Yeah.
first?
Yeah, so I think particularly when it comes to the starts, I think it's really favoring them, and that's clearly evident. It kind of works for them, but I guess on race trim, in terms of raw pace, I think Mercedes clearly has an advantage. So I don't. I again, that's a fairly technical question, which would probably merit another podcast for itself. But I guess I think I'm kind of the person who probably just looks at experimental data, and what we're looking at is basically is evident that I think Mercedes may have gone in the right direction. If you look at it from an overall package, I think the pace is evident. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in general speaking, I'm not I like cars, I like engines, but I'm not an expert at all on engines. You know, we're aerodynamics people. So we talk about air. But no, if you look at in general in cars, right? Like smaller turbo versus bigger turbo, right? Like turbo lag is like what you're aiming to eliminate when you go opt for some smaller turbo. But then you're limited with the amount of power the amount of compression and the amount of power you're trying to output, right? And the thing with the big turbo is as long as you keep it, you're able to keep the pressure up, you're good, right? And Formula One cars, they operate at insane. Like if you manage to get into a good rhythm over a track, I don't think your turbo pressure is going to drop that much. And especially the tracks we've been seeing, it's been like almost very like heavily accelerating and long straights, right? So I think in these kinds of tracks, right, a bit more longer format, I would say like medium speed, high speed corner sort of tracks, like yes, these cars are really going to benefit with bigger turbos, right? Like you just get more power. But I think, this is where the interesting bit comes in, like tracks like Monaco, right? Like that Ferrari is going to be impossible to catch because it's going to be power on tap. And these cars have barely any aero compared to the last generation.
Yeah.
They're going to be sliding around all over the place. So I really expect that Ferrari to dominate in track like Monaco.
They better.
Yeah, another Leclerc win, maybe even a Lewis win. And
yeah, that would be nice. That'd be nice. So I'm gonna come back to the race, guys. I'm gonna give my take on the race. Today, then after I'm done, you can weigh in and give us your thoughts. I mean, watching the race as someone, I've been watching Formula One for a while, but for someone who just even started just watching that race, let's say if you're just a new guy into Formula One, I mean, Kimi Antonelli, guys, come on, I mean, that was emotional, guys.
Yeah,
I mean, he was tearing up.
Kimi
Hey,
Raikkonen.
I have to correct
Kimi
you on
Raikkonen
that.
won
It
the
was
race,
Kimi
man.
Raikkonen actually who won the race.
That was fun. They brought Kimi Raikkonen back into the mix, but I mean, Kimi, man, he just kept it cool. He did his own race, and a lot of maturity from him, and I'd be really happy to see a bit of exchange between him and George for the podiums. I guess that's the one thing that's going to keep things interesting. If it's always George, it's not going to be fun. And I like the fact that post-race, Kimi said, I'm happy that I actually won. I had that dream come true and winning a Formula One race.
Yeah.
Then he said he wants to win the world championship as well. So yeah, man, that shows promise. That means he's serious. And
no, he's greatly mature in his driving style.
Yeah,
I think he's a great driver.
Yeah.
It was really heartmourning to see Bono with his two drivers on the podium, and George stepping aside to do that.
It was such a wholesome moment.
I mean that was really
wholesome, but let's not let gestures like that make us forget the diva that George is when he wants to be. That he was the one who incited Crofty to ask, was it Kravitz or Crofty, to ask extra questions, and then he put the spotlight on Max a couple seasons ago. So, let's not forget the diva George is. He's getting a lot of good press.
Yeah.
But,
George is kind of acting like the big brother, but I'll
He is
put
a
it up there.
bad
Kimi
babysitter.
Antonelli is my favorite for the season. I am rooting for Kimi Antonelli.
Yes.
I'm always
think-
with the underdog, and I'm rooting for Kimi Antonelli.
I think it's over for Max, guys. I'm sorry. I don't think we're gonna get another championship.
Yeah.
It's obvious, man.
And yeah,
I just hope
And-
he's able to get a race that that he's happy with.
yeah.
You know.
I think even if we get a few good races from Max, that'll be nice. But I
It's
think
always entertaining seeing his racecraft on display, even if he
Yeah.
doesn't win. It's fun seeing him, And honestly, the way he drives, whenever we see the small onboard on the
Yeah.
side, whenever we see his onboard, and he's just throwing the car into the corners, it's
yeah.
crazy how that car fights back, and he just wrings its neck and like drive.
Yeah, Max is. We can never rule out Max. He's. I think even with a terrible car like that, he's definitely going to be in the mix. If not in the coming races, I think hopefully in the future. And my last take on the races, it was really nice to see Lewis back in his form. I started watching Formula One, like properly watching Formula One, when like Lewis was in his dominant era with the W10 or W11. I was like, and this guy is amazing, before I actually converted to a Max Verstappen fan, I was kind of rooting for Lewis Hamilton. It was really sad to see Lewis going down and just being in a really low state emotionally. But him being back his mojo and fighting for the win, that was nice, man. That's peak Hamilton, and I think we'd like that. We would like to see that.
It's crazy what not having a tractor does for you, right?
Yeah, basically that sums it quite well. So
We're
you
getting
guys
close
win
to
the race now, guys.
yeah, we're getting close to time, so I think we have a long break coming up. What are your guys' expectations out the break?
Jade, go ahead.
Watching Max Verstappen driving Mercedes.
Yeah,
I think
That'll be,
that's the only thing that's gonna give me some joy after watching his terrible race in
hey,
China.
I mean, he's going to do it, right? He's going to drive a Mercedes in the Nürburgring 24 hours. So
Yeah, man.
it's finally happening. It's finally
it's
happening.
finally happening. No, but I think I just want to see the cars running without problems.
Yeah.
I just want to see some these people be able to finish a race. Some people start a race, but I want to see an onboard of Alonso where he's holding the steering wheel and not letting go every now and then because it hurts to hold the steering wheel.
Yeah, that's let's hope he doesn't
Guys,
get.
there's also a new quirk, a new twist with these rules. Is the balance between harvesting energy in the battery to get the better deployment and tires warm up. I mean, in order to put the tires in the right window, drivers put some energy and they end up depleting their battery. So they are dead meat anyway. Warming up tires, warming up
we should
tires
do
is like a secondary choice now.
Yeah, I think we should do a reverse grid in terms of battery, right? Like front row has no battery, not, and then only the back markers have full battery. That would be really funny to watch. But no, I think it's really dumb that tire warm up and battery charging is, I feel like there should be a bypass switch maybe for the formation lap that lets them get their tires warmed up with the battery fully charged. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think FIA should just lift the restriction on how much they can charge, because there is an artificial restriction that FIA has.
I think it's 9 megajoules, right?
I think it's even less. It might be 4.
I don't know that.
Let's do some research on that for next time.
I think Russell did face this problem when after the race safety car did some laps and the race again restarts. Russell was having such a problem to get the tire in the right window, when both the
Yeah.
Ferraris just overtook him in a
Yeah,
flash.
honestly, for a second, I thought the Ferraris would pull away and we'd be getting two Ferraris on the podium. But yeah, that Mercedes came back once it started.
You can't discount the Mercedes. I think on the straights and overall, they're way faster.
Yeah, I think the hard tire took a while to just gain the right temperature. But yeah, I think what we would want to see Ferrari do is somehow develop the car in a way that once they're in clean air, they're able to pull away. That's the only way they can probably get themselves when
The only way to pull away in these regulations is to just have a faster and stronger engine.
Yeah.
That's
All right.
guys.
I think that's a good point to call it. And
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have better Verstappen news next time around, more for the Verstappen fans. But it's going to be entertaining season. Let's hope things figure out. And yeah, see you all next time.
Yeah, see you guys next time. It was fun, guys. Have a nice weekend or whatever is left of it. Oh yeah, it's still have a couple of days.
Hump day, man. It's Wednesday.
It's just, hey, it's in Pakistan, bro. We got time off, bro.
All right,
all right, guys. Have a nice one. Take care. All right.